Hi everyone, and welcome to this module on teamwork. So I am Nicola Vendatozzi and I'm here with my colleague Stan Sarak from the Counselling Service. So we're both from Student Life and we're here to talk about the common challenges of working in teams and some tips on what you can do about them. Now, before we go any further, let me just advance the slides. So we're just pause because we are coming to you from Adelaide, not currently on our North Terrace campus, but near, and we are both on beautiful Ghana land. So just want to take a moment to pay our respects to the traditional custodians of these lands, the Ghana people, and acknowledge their ongoing spiritual connection to land and culture. So let's move on to our session guide for today. So Stan, what are we going to talk about today?
Hi, Nicola, and hi, everyone. So that's right. We'll be talking about teamwork and why it is important. And as most uni students, you will be at some point in your degree having to do a group assignment or a workshop or a project. And this will require more than just the knowledge of the course material. It will require some additional skills around how you work with other people. And so what we're going to be doing is talking about what some of those useful skills are, like getting to know each other, having set expectations, and how you communicate effectively with each other. Of course, it doesn't always go very smoothly, and so we will try and look into a little bit about what happens when that is the case. Disagreements can happen, communication breakdowns, or how we relate to each other in a team. We will discuss how we can move forward, what can we do to take charge and get things done and make sure that you get your group assignment on time with great results.
That sounds awesome, Stan. Now, we don't have a lot of time together today, so it's a lot to whip through. So I suppose we'll do our best. So let's get cracking. So why should we care about teamwork? It can be a real challenge. And as you said, it's part of so many courses at uni. So why should we care about it?
Well, we know that teamwork improves students' learning and prepares students for life after uni as well, in terms of the workplaces where collaboration and cooperation are very much important. So it's not just about the information that we learn, something that we do as individual learners. We tend to acquire information, but when we work as a group, we're able to take that knowledge to the next level, and that usually means putting it to some practical use. So collaboration is very critical there. So how to do this, how to work with others is essential. And what you'll find is that the employers often look for graduates who have got a set of skills that takes them beyond just those technical skills that they've acquired. And that's usually some of those soft skills that we call, which are things like how we relate to each other, how we communicate, and how we collaborate.
Absolutely, because even, for us to come together and put this material together didn't, it was more than just gathering the information, but, having to work with each other, communicate, get to, all of those skills that you're talking about. So yeah, it really happens in so many different roles and their skills for life, if you want to think about it like that.
Yeah.
So that makes loads of sense. So let's talk about what those skills actually are. This is an interesting picture that we've got here. What can you tell us about it?
Let's have a look at this picture, because this is in fact taken out of one of the team building activities that organizations often do. We see there a group of people with their index fingers trying to balance a stick or a bar. And the goal of this exercise as a team is that they need to raise this bar or lower it, move it up and down. And as anyone that's ever attempted this exercise would have found out, it's not that easy. It's not easy because people move their fingers at different rates, and often they don't. They find it quite odd because the balance of the bar starts to become an issue, and it's a lot more challenging than it looks, basically. So what it does,
absolutely.
yeah. So what it does is that it's a really good way to demonstrate some skills which are essential when we work as a group. The first thing to really keep in mind is that when you're working in a group is to have that clear communication, and that requires both listening and talking. And in that process, being able to negotiate, to find a way or solution that's going to lead to action, in this case, raising the bar, for example. Now, for that negotiation to take place, it's really crucial that as a team, you work respectfully with each other. And even things like maintaining eye contact when you're doing or multitasking, when you're doing one thing, but also trying to gauge with each other where you stand in relation to each other. This is quite important. And taking responsibility, being accountable to what you're doing and saying what you are going to do. So this all brings it together to that kind of collaborative process. And with some luck, you'll find the bar going up and getting really good results.
Absolutely. It's even, I mean, it's a fun activity to try. Even, I don't suppose if you're doing a group assignment that you're going to do this activity together, but be a great test to find out where are the strengths and weaknesses in your group before you even get started.
Right.
That link, the session lab link that you'll be able to see on the slides, it's got a whole list of different team building activities. So it might even be worth a laugh to kind of have a look. Now, to really try and keep this session as practical as possible, you know, we can only cover on some really basic teamwork stuff. So if you really want to know more about teamworking, the uni's also got this great resource that you can see on your screen now. So it's the Employability and Career Skills tool that takes you to an e-learning page. So it's a really comprehensive set of e-learning modules. The QR code that you see will take you straight there, or you've also got the URL. So the page that I've highlighted here, what are teamworking skills? If you're interested to know more, then this is a great resource to check out. So what's next? Let's get into some practical tips, or otherwise known as how to do it well.
Okay, so here, these are some of the suggestions that we're making today, at least. Of course, it's not an exhaustive list, but we'll just run through them. So getting to know your group members and is one of the crucial starting points of any group activity. Now, there are some practical things that you can do, like exchanging contact details or setting up a chat group, but also just having a chat about each other's experiences, perhaps your strengths that you can bring to the project that you are going to be doing. Because when you start working on the project, you want to get to the level of clarity where you're heading in the right direction. What that means is that you've read and understood the brief very clearly. You understand that there are certain goals, there are going to be some problems, and you may need to ask and clarify with your lecturer also at times what it is that you want to be doing, because to get better grade, you will need to understand what those assessment criteria are. So ask lots of questions at this sort of early stage.
Just on that point, Stan, as well, those kind of two first points. When difficulties happen in groups, you know, sometimes things like humor or shared interests can actually move us through difficulties. So we don't know what we share in common unless we have a conversation about it, unless, you know, we kind of chat to start off with. And that can then also help people to understand, do the people in the group communicate differently? So that when you're being clear on the project aims, do you need to communicate in different ways so that everybody can get on the same page?
That's right. No, it's absolutely important. And it doesn't have to be all serious. Certainly, there has to be some lighthearted humor to break the ice at times. But certainly once you get going, it is good to know how you understand each other, how you work together. And that does require setting up some rules and roles. So this can be around expectations, what you expect from each other, perhaps boundaries, things like what types of topics are okay to discuss and what some of the things are that you might want to not necessarily bring to the conversation. And that really boils down to that respect and respectful communication, because in any kind of professional setting, that is an essential requirement. Once you've established those rules, allocate tasks according to your strengths. So, for example, some group members may be very good at the technical know-how or being able to collate information. We all think differently, so think about the strengths that you have and that you bring to the group. So things that someone may feel comfortable in a leadership role, they may be very good at coordinating everyone else. Other people might be perhaps a quieter person, but very good at solving problems and puzzles. So be very clear about what it is that you bring to that. And work to specific time frames. So this is all where we strongly encourage students to be organized and to think about where this fits in with everything else that's going on in their lives. So for that to happen, having regular meetings and reviewing progress, reviewing where you're at, it is, as you can see, a process that's going over a period of time. And there are certain points, certain milestones at which you're going to be hopefully celebrating good progress, as opposed to worrying about the problems that have come up.
Absolutely. So it sounds like communicating is basically at the heart of most of these tips. So communicate, communicate, communicate.
That's right. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if group work were easy, then there would never be any problems. And you and I and everybody watching this, and probably everybody across the uni knows that group work can also be hard. So what makes it hard, Stan?
That's right. Yeah. So there's a few things that can go wrong, that's for sure. And in fact, as we mentioned in a previous slide, when you get to know each other, talk about your expectations, because those expectations can be quite different. And if you haven't discussed them, you may find that they'll crop up somewhere down the track. So expectations around things like how much work you should be putting in, or what kind of grades you're looking at, what quality of performance, I guess, you want to see. So when those differences become evident, you may notice within your group that communication starts to break down. And it could be because there is too little communication, or maybe too much, but it feels like something's not going right. And you may not be necessarily the person who is having the problem. You may actually observe someone else within the team having this issue, or two people between each other, because you're working within specific time pressures and time frames of other assignments, and life getting in the way, and all other problems that come up. Keeping in mind that those things are happening, you can definitely anticipate that at times conflict can occur, and conflict between people is normal. It is something that we don't necessarily need to shy away from. It's more about what can we do to resolve those issues.
Yeah. So there are, things can really get off track. It's not that that's abnormal, but it's how do you deal with it, as you say. So how do we kind of move forward? So we've got these 4 kind of tips. Do you want to talk us through them?
Yeah, I'll just go very briefly through some of them. And what working with positive mindset means, what that's referring to is that your expectations may differ from others, but it is important to understand other people's points of view, and also to feed off each other's energy. So what positive mindset does is that you are bringing to the table something that is a win-win solution rather than a sort of negativity, I guess, and always being problem-oriented, like there is always something wrong. So sharing that knowledge and enthusiasm with others in the group is important. For that to happen, what we mean by active listener, the second point, is that you need to be asking lots of questions, and sometimes a lot more can be achieved through asking questions than telling someone what the answer is. To be an active listener, it's about not just hearing what the person is saying, but also thinking about what they're saying, and also checking in with them in case you're not sure that you've understood quite clearly. But do it also politely, communicate in what we call assertive way. So where there are different forms of communication, there's a passive or aggressive or assertive style of communication. When we talk about assertive communication, it's about saying what you feel, what you think, speak in first person. So but also validate the other person's point of view. What that means is that you might say something, if there is a problem, let's say, and a person has stated something that you disagree with, you may wish to say, I appreciate your point of view, but I disagree. I believe that a better way to approach this problem is ... and then you offer your own answer. And finally, just as that final point, plan for the unexpected, as mentioned in the previous slide, life can get in the way, and people's lives are not all in synchrony all the time. So as you are part of the team, when you're checking with each other, when you're having those regular meetings, do report or let people know if something's come up, so that you can readjust the way in which you tackle your group project.
Absolutely. And I like those examples as well of how to be assertive and kind of validate what the person is saying as well. You can even say things like, I understand your frustration, or hear your frustration. Here's my point of view, or how can we work together to solve this or to move forward? Because sometimes it's hard to know when people, say, oh, you should talk like this, or you should communicate like this. What does that actually look like? So I love those examples. Thanks, Stan. So let's say that you've tried some of that stuff and it hasn't worked, or you're still having some difficulties. Is there anything else that people can do? What can we do?
So that's right. So let's say that communication has broken down, and perhaps one of your team members has been out of action, difficult to contact, and you haven't been able to progress the work. What you can do is you can always reach out to your tutor or lecturer or course coordinator, somebody within your faculty who is able to assist you, who is able to help you, first of all, see how you can resolve that issue from within the team. And most of the problems can be resolved fairly quickly. So sometimes it can mean an adjustment to a time frame or a particular problem that's associated with that project. So always, if you are absolutely at that point where you're not progressing and you're not getting anywhere, do bring this to the attention of your lecturer, as they can do things to help you meet the target date, which is your due date when you got to submit this. So within that also is about understanding how the assessment is graded. So people may have expectations of what kind of grade they want to get, but they're not necessarily progressing at the level where they would be necessarily guaranteed that. So again, talk to your coordinator or your lecturer about how to what is required for that grade to be achieved. And finally, there is a feedback process in most group activities, and that would be either feedback that you provide to your lecturer directly, but as part of the group process, it's ensuring that people have evaluated each other on the efforts that they've put in to get that final product.
Absolutely. And just at the bottom of that slide, Stan, there, the QR code takes people directly to the Ask ECMS Student Support team. So if you're having issues and you want to reach out to them, then please do. Now we're almost at the end of our time together, so let's whip through a couple of extra resources. This is from LinkedIn Learning. You can get to it through this QR code. It's a really comprehensive set of sessions called Teamwork Foundations. This is just one example of some courses that are available to you, and you can either click the link, click the QR code, or search employability at the University of Adelaide, and that will also take you there. Now, if this is your first semester, you might not yet be familiar with the Wellbeing Hub website. So again, here's a QR code that will take you there. It has a wealth of information on keeping mentally, emotionally, and physically well, including some information on working in groups and in tutorials. So I'll just show you. Here we go. This is a quick snapshot of the groups and shoots section of the Wellbeing Hub. And you can see down the right-hand side of your screen, there are also a range of different PDF booklets that you can download if you are interested. The final plug for the Wellbeing Hub is you can, using this QR code, sign up to Wellbeing Tips. If you want a steady stream of tips and tricks around a whole range of wellbeing issues, then subscribe here and have the information delivered straight to your inbox. So that's all from us today. Thanks, Stan. Thanks for working together as a team. I'll give you a high five.
Right. High five.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. And I hope that you enjoyed this session and that you get a lot out of the resources. See ya.
Yeah, everyone. Bye.